Hey, what's up, everybody? It's Charles. I want to welcome you guys to another episode of the Dreamerspro Show. And in today's episode, we got a pretty interesting topic for you guys. And the question is, should the Toronto Raptors fans be happy that they got Kawhi Leonard for DeMar Derozan 2 years later? So that's the topic I want to get into in today's video. If this is your first time to the channel, this is a show where we cover, NBA news, hot topics, hot debates, where we give you a fresh perspective on sports and how we see it. So if this is your first time, please make sure you go ahead and hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and hit the notification bell to be notified whenever we drop our content. If you also want to check this out on the Dreamerspro Podcast, we have that linked in the description below, so you guys can go ahead and check that out. And also, please make sure you follow us on Facebook, on our Facebook page. We have that linked in the description below. With that being said, let's just get straight into the heat today. So this is the topic that I want to talk about, today, and I think it's going to be an interesting one. Okay, why is that? Well, the dust has settled. Okay, the dust has settled on the Toronto Raptors and the Los Angeles Clippers because these two teams are intertwined, at least over the last year or so. So let's go backwards. Okay, 2 years ago, or a year ago rather, the Toronto Raptors had the opportunity to make a trade for Kawhi Leonard in return for DeMar Derozan, sending DeMar Derozan to where? The San Antonio Spurs. Now, up until that point, DeMar Derozan had been the most successful Toronto Raptor in the organization's history. I think he came into the NBA, and I think he was drafted by the team in 2009, right? And he played with them from 2009 to 2018. Since then, he was a four-time All-Star. He made it on two All-NBA teams. And he was a pretty good player. He was known for his great athleticism. He had a really great mid-range game. He had a nice floater shot. So DeMar Derozan was a great player, okay? Looking at his numbers, he's one of these guys that grew and improved with the team. The first year with the Toronto Raptors, he was averaging 9 points a game. The next year, he averaged 17 points a game. Next year, he averaged 17 again. Then he averaged 18 points. Then he went up to 23 points or 22.7 points, then down to 20 to 23. Then in 2016, 2017 is when he had his breakout year as far as a score. He averaged 27.3 points a game, got you 3.9 assists, got you 5.2 rebounds, shot 46% from the field, but was not a great three-point shooter, shooting 26% from the field. Then the following year, he averaged 23, and then that's when he was shipped off. So he was the most successful Toronto Raptor ever. And if we look at his playoff performances, if we look at his averages at least, as a playoff player for that team, he averaged 22 points a game, 1 steal a game, 3.6 assists, 4.6 rebounds. He shot 85% from the free throw line, 23% from the three-point line, which isn't good, and averaged 42% from the field during his tenure with the Toronto Raptors, with that team. So that was sort of his history, right? However, the thing was, though, I think there were whispers in that organization and throughout the league that that DeMar Derozan was not necessarily the guy that was going to take the team over the hump because they'd had so many cracks at it. The Toronto Raptors had so many great seasons as far as winning percentages. They were always a top team in the Eastern Conference, but whenever they got to the playoffs, things just started to fall apart, right? And we saw time and time again that the DeMar Derozan and Kyle Lowry pairing was not working. It was good enough to get a great seed in the Eastern Conference. It was good enough to have the coach at the time, Dwayne Casey, win head coach of the year, But when it got to the playoff, they could just never seem to get the success that they truly wanted and desired. So they decided that it was time to make a trade and make a change. And by they, we're talking about the team president, Masai Ujiri. Masai Ujiri had a unique circumstance where he had the opportunity to trade DeMar Derozan for Kawhi Leonard, who was coming from San Antonio and didn't have a good, let's say he didn't leave the San Antonio Spurs, on a solid footing. When he left the team, they were, these guys were just not getting along. And Kawhi Leonard was ready to move on from that team. So at the time, Kawhi Leonard, before he joined the team, he was averaging, because he was injured, he was averaging like 16 points a game. But the year before that, he was averaging about 25.5 points a game. And he was an all-star, one of the best players in the league. And I think him and the San Antonio Spurs had gone to the Western Conference Finals before Zaza Pachulia took him out of that series. So Kawhi Leonard was doing his thing. Now, they traded for him, knowing that Kawhi Leonard at the time could be a gamble. He got to the Toronto Raptors, and immediately he averaged 26.6 points a game, 50% from the field, shot a great free throw percentage, and he really had a great regular season with the team. But the litmus test for the Toronto Raptors at that time was not going to be how well Kawhi Leonard and the Toronto Raptors performed in the regular season, because we've seen this story so many times before, and we know what happens at the end of this movie. They always have a great regular season, and they get to the playoffs, and then things fall apart. Now, granted, all the things that were happening at the time, Masai Ujiri had sort of alienated his star at the time, Kyle Lowry, because Kyle Lowry felt betrayed that they traded away his best friend. So there are all of these things happening. And then you now brought in this new player to a new system, a great system with a great coach and staff and everything. They even changed the coach to Nick Nurse from, and I think who used to be an assistant coach with the team. So they ended up doing that. And what happened? They got to the playoffs, and miraculous things started to happen for that team. Kawhi Leonard went on to average 30.5 points a game, 49% from the field. He shot 38% from the three-point line, shot 88% from the free throw line, got you 9.1 rebounds, 3.9 assists, and 1.7 steals. Led the entire playoffs in points, rebounds, and steals, and had the third highest scoring average, I think, in the playoffs, behind Michael Jordan and LeBron James. And immediately, we saw the difference between Kawhi Leonard and DeMar Derozan. And I think in the minds of every single Toronto Raptors fan, it was crystal clear to see that Kawhi Leonard was the guy, because he delivered the goods, and he delivered the goods in a major way, and they got him and they won. Now, fast forward, Kawhi Leonard decides to leave the team, right? And now the team is without its original, poster boy in DeMar Derozan, and Kawhi Leonard has moved on. He was essentially a mercenary. He came there, did his bid, set out to do what he intended to do. They won the championship, and he moved on. So now the question goes back to the Toronto Raptors fans and the fan base. Should they be happy that the Toronto Raptors traded away DeMar Derozan, got somebody that was only really willing to commit 1 year to them, but that person delivered a championship to the team that had never won a title ever in the history of the team being alive, but then moved on? And this question is really poignant towards Toronto Raptors fans, because I'm a Kawhi Leonard fan, so I'm going to support the guy wherever he goes, because I'm just a fan of his. Sort of like when you see Shannon Sharp support, sort of how you see the way Shannon Sharp supports LeBron James. At one point he's a Miami Heat fan, and he's a Cleveland Cavalier fan, and now he's a Lakers fan. So I support Kawhi Leonard. But the question is, though, how do Toronto Raptors fans feel about him leaving? And that's the question I want to ask you guys. Are you happy that you got Kawhi Leonard for that year and won the title? Or do you wish that they stuck with DeMar Derozan 2 years later? So whatever you guys think, please leave your thoughts and comments in the comment section below. Again, if you enjoyed this video, please make sure you go ahead and hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and hit the notification bell to be notified whenever we drop our content. Once again, this is Charles here from Dreamers Pro, wishing you guys an amazing day. Peace.